Rich, good to see you, brother.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, man. So James Tyler.
Yeah.
Let's just pretend for a second, because I know this is not possible. I'm not being facetious. Like guitar players know your guitars. I mean, they're striking. They are, as soon as you see the headstock. And I think you guys were like the first ever, besides Jeff Beck, on him actually naturally wearing.
That's kind of where it came from.
Exactly.
Jim loved Jeff Beck so much.
The first to produce, like in a production series, that beveled thing. Yeah, armrest.
We originally did it on the psychedelic Vomit Mike Landau model.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure so this might be fun for your guys' crowd, is the whole schmears and the crazy finishes started with, I was sanding a turquoise guitar down, and it was like turquoise, silver, and wood, randomly. I said, this looks like something Mike would like. And Jim's like, well, leave it on your bench. He's coming in tomorrow. And Mike comes in, he's like, what is this? And then Jim and him added the other colors and sanded it. I'm sure we never did an arm contour, because back in the day we did a Floyd and we couldn't sink it in. So Jim liked the way it felt better to have your arm up a little. Well, when they finished that, it was a standard bridge. And I'm sure Mike was like, and so Jim was like, let's just whack it off like Jeff. Yeah. So that's where it kind of all started. And it was a great place to have him sign. Yeah, that's awesome. So the schmear, the beveled arm contour, the headstock, you guys are all doing this really unique take on a classic S style guitar. But there's also like the whole Dan Huff thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so James Tyler guitars, you guys have your own lane. Oh yeah. You know what I mean? And you guys are not like pumping out billions of these all at once. It's very slow and very meticulous. Could you speak to that a little bit? Yeah. So Jim's sort of history is he worked at Norm's Rare Guitars. If you don't know, check out Norm's documentary on Netflix. Great. I watched it. It's awesome. So 3 minutes in, there's a photo of him and Eddie Van Halen. That was taken with Jim's camera, and Jim's in between those two. Oh, cool. So Jim was like a repair guy, and he worked on guitars, but he could make them stay in tune and play right and clean, and did all kinds of stuff so that Strat would stay in tune. Because when you're on a session with like a full orchestra and they're staring at you like, why are you tuning for like 2 minutes? We gotta go. Yeah. So he did that, and he started attracting all the players. Well, then they needed noiseless stuff. So it was like he was friends with Seymour Duncan, who was another repair guy who was kind of fixing pickups and stuff. He wasn't Seymour Duncan yet. And he was out at Seymour's, and he said, hey, what if we take all tall magnets and we push down the top, put another top on, one way, one the other? Would that be hum canceling single coil? And Seymour's like, I don't know if that'll work. And then Seymour, obviously him and everybody's trying to figure out noiseless, because recordings were getting clean. Right. So Series Parallel was then available with stacks. And then Demeter had a noise canceling circuit, but Jim didn't like that part, but he liked what the buffered circuit did. Yeah. So he put that in, and all of that went into a guitar that Dan Smith built from Fender. Yeah. That Andy Brower owned, and it was 3 classic stacks and a preamp, and that went on to the Michael Jackson Thriller album, and it's on Thriller, and Billie Jean is this all 3 pickups on Series Parallel. It's that funky dunk. Yeah, when somebody looks down at our guitar and they're like, what are all these switches? And it does something, because Billie Jean, there's no amp, there's no effects, there's no post, nothing, direct in. That's the sound. Yeah. You can't get it with EQ. It's comb filtering and all that. Yeah. So Jim, then he would take these guitars like Coma and Dan's original 64, and he'd strip them all the way down, refret them, and build them back up. And he's like, man, if I start with bodies and necks, he didn't want to build. He was actually building while he was trying to be a rock star and or seminary or racing or model trains or a photographer. Rockstar, seminary, racing, photography. Yeah, he went to Bible school at Church on the Way's King's Institute. That's awesome. I had no idea. He played with Tommy Walker in Tommy Walker's band. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he could play. Like, he's a good player. Do you follow Tommy Walker on Instagram? He's my friend. Oh yeah, and he's always doing these crazy arrangements. Go check out Tommy playing at Jim's funeral. I think it's still up. Oh really? Just his Tyler straight into an amp was just like glorious. Yeah, Tommy, if you're watching this, I mean, you're an amazing player, brother. Yeah. But so he was getting bodies and necks from Philip Kubicki, and then people were like, yeah, put something on the headstock. So he came up with a decal that was supposed to kind of be Art Deco. He saw some stationery with a doctor's name all the way down the side. So he did that, and it looked weird, so he put a Tyler in the middle. So then when Anderson started building bodies and necks after leaving Schecter, he had a Fadal, a CNC machine. So Jim designed the headstock so that it would hang straight. That's the nub. And he came straight across his names and dipped it in and came around. So there it is. It's not somebody flipping somebody off. It's not a half an airplane. And then that was the birth of the Studio Elite in 1987, and that's when I started working for him in his garage. It was him and me in his garage.
The legacy that you just spit out in 60 seconds of this company is incredible. Yeah.
I didn't know any of that when I started working for him. I made fun of the headstock. I went down to his shop because I'm a bass player, and I went to his shop and I said the place for bass. So I went down there and I'm like, Tobias and Kubicki, and then I was like, oh, who made that? And he's like, me? Oh, sorry. So I get it, but now I don't, right?
Right.
Because you see Abe Laborio ripping on his 5-string, and it's like, oh, that's cool. And there's something, honestly, this is dead serious. There's something about the shape of the headstock that I think is why there's this inherent tone to a Tyler. It's just a little different. I mean, it's not. I'm not saying it's like, oh, but there's a thing.
It's got to add mass, which would change the resonance.
Exactly.
Man, it's really cool to actually hear you tell your side of that.
Yeah.
So
I should come and do a little tour of a couple of the stores.
You should.
That would be a blast.
That'd be awesome. Good to see you, brother.
Good to meet you. Yeah,
absolutely.